If you involve yourself in pornography, let's say, the other portion, the other half of that relationship or that sexual experience doesn't exist. It's only a fantasy. And like a football team would practice plays again and again to get it right, you know, what you end up doing is training yourself to satisfy your own itch. And there is no other person there. So all you're doing is satisfying yourself. And then if the time ever comes that you finally connect with somebody else, you have so trained yourself that in that relationship you cannot satisfy the other person, because all you're thinking about is how do I satisfy myself, emotionally, physically, in all aspects of that relationship. So you're actually cheating yourself out of the best that God designed the sexual experience to be, with two people, a man and a woman, in a committed relationship. There's something there that you can't get any other way. So the more you train yourself to satisfy yourself, the more you are denying yourself the best that God intended from that relationship, which isn't just sexual, but it's a relationship of two people that is so bonded that you can't, almost can't explain it to somebody. They have to experience it for themselves.
They experience it for themselves, and they find out, you know, sometimes too late, or after there's so much devastation to their spirit, their soul, their mind, their emotions, and their will, until they're so broken and their lives are so messed up. And some of them make it out, some of them find an answer, and some don't. But that's why we do what we do, and so many other people just saying there is hope. You know, Jeremiah 29:11 says God has a hope. He has a future for us. But, you know, the world's always saying, well, do this, satisfy, satisfy, and it's all about satisfying these needs and doing it the wrong way, because that's the plan of the enemy. He wants to destroy people. His plan is still the same, to steal, kill, and destroy. And so he knows that if he can get you giving a little petal here, a little petal there, pretty soon there's nothing left of you, you know, to give. And then sometimes then they think, oh, you know, there's no hope. And, you know, we've known young people who've ended up killing themselves because of such brokenness and not feeling like they're ever going to find that peace inside. But there is hope. That's the great thing, the wonderful thing. God is the Redeemer. He is the one that can change and make us from old creatures.
A young lady that we met, she was relating the story that she used to be a prostitute on the street. Mm-hmm. And she was about to, and she was at some kind of event. It was a Christian event on the street. And it just so happened it was what we used to call block parties, or we still do, call them block parties that we would do on the street, but they're evangelistic. And so she was attending this, and she had determined that day she was going to commit suicide. But she heard somebody from the platform, and the person who made the comment had to be nudged by God, okay? So there's somebody here, and you're about to commit suicide, but you've never tried God. So you need to stop, try God first, and if he doesn't work for you, then go ahead, commit suicide. And she thought, what a bold statement. Well, she came forward, gave her life to the Lord, and got saved. Yeah. And she ended up in a home that this ministry ran called the House of Magdalene, where she was discipled and so on. And when she was relating this story to us, she didn't realize, she couldn't remember the name quite, but she remembered the people involved and was describing them. And I'm looking at this young lady, and looking at my wife, and she's not saying anything. And I looked again, and you know you're talking about her.
I looked much younger then, yeah. Right.
And she couldn't believe it. Well, this lady today has a ministry to prostitutes. Yeah. She not only got saved, her whole life did 180, and there was that compassion for the same kind of person that she was, and went out and started this ministry, which is running today. Currently, it's operational, and she's taking women off the street and getting them saved and discipling them. Here's this young lady today reaching out to prostitutes, taking them off the street, just saying, you don't have to be that way. I was that way. Who better to minister than somebody who's been there and knows what you're thinking, knows what you're feeling, knowing what you have experienced, and says, don't tell me I don't know what I'm talking about.
And that's how God is so redemptive in things, that he takes our brokenness. He takes our messed up life. He takes our ashes, and we take those ashes and say, here, God, can you do anything with this? And He loves to take those ashes and make something beautiful out of it. I was in Washington one year right after Mount St. Helens had blown. And it was interesting because then all these little shops, they had taken ashes and they had learned how to make ashes, and they made these little statues of Mount St. Helens out of them. And it was a beautiful little piece, an ornate piece that you would, could put on your shelf, your bookshelf. And I thought, isn't that something, how a man took ashes and made something out of it? Well, God can do so much more of taking our ashes and making them beautiful.
What about Pam?
Yes, well, another young lady, her name was Pam. She had come to Hollywood, very broken up, messed up life. Her mother had told her she wished she had aborted her. She said, I just regret the day I'd ever had you. I wish I'd aborted you. She came to Hollywood, and something about Hollywood just draws people there and all over the world, and ended up in a lot of other messed up situations and did a lot of drugs and things. But she came into, as I'm trying to remember now, she gave her heart to the Lord, and God just started doing some miraculous healing in her heart and her life. And several other friends, she ended up in a home that helped her to grow and really get a transformed life. Took her ashes and really made something beautiful. Years later, she ended up marrying this corporate executive, had 2 children, living in the suburbs. And it was so great because she would now go and she would work with other organizations that were trying to do the same thing to help young ladies. So God is the Redeemer.
And I think the fun part is that I think 5 times in 7 years she reenacted her wedding. She couldn't believe that it actually happened to her, that she could do. So they would bring in all their friends. They ought to put the tuxedos on. She'd put the dress on, and she'd get remarried and remarried and remarried because she was just couldn't believe that her life was that dramatic.
Because she had come from literally the gutter. As a matter of fact, she was with us in Hollywood one time. We were walking down the street, and we were doing some videotaping, and she was saying, I used to live in this alley. Yeah, she started to cry. I lived in this alley. And she said, the roaches, I gave them names because I wanted a pet. Oh, can you imagine? She wanted a pet. And so
places, she even said one of these places is where she had been raped. And
out on the street.
Out on the street. Yeah. And so when God gets hold of somebody and takes them and turns them 180 degrees and says, you don't have to live that way, and they can heal the past, God can heal the past like nobody can. Pure passion that beats for Christ alone.
Hollywood. The illusion of glamour, the reality of the streets. In the midst of the storm, there is an oasis of hope. The Oasis is a shelter of love for children and teenagers living in Hollywood. It's a safe retreat, a place of joy, a place to belong. Ron and Judy Radachy have dedicated their lives to rescuing young hearts with the love of Christ. The Oasis offers vital after-school programs with tutoring called Kids Club. A special truck equipped with a mobile stage takes the club right out into the community. Year-round, the Oasis features neighborhood events, camps, field trips, and special holiday celebrations with gifts for needy children.
Okay, we're live at the Oasis, and we want to find out what the kids are thankful for.
I'm thankful for the $30 gift card I got today.
I'm thankful for Jesus and the Oasis.
I'm thankful for family. For Jesus and Oasis.
The Oasis is also a popular drop-in center for teenagers, a protective alternative to gangs and nightlife on the street. It's called Club Zion and features the Sunday night church program Spin. There's plenty of fun combined with loving discipleship and mentoring to give young people a hand up and a way forward.
At the age of 14, I really got serious about God, and I came here and I got saved here. And it was a life-changing thing for me because soon after that my mother passed away, which left me with no other support system but God. And so the fact that I'm still here and I'm still able to serve God and to live for Him, it's truly amazing.
It was in this place when I came here when I was in 6th grade, and for the first time I believe I saw authentic Christianity in the lives of the people here. And I couldn't tell you enough stories about the time and time again when people showed me love and I never expected it. A gentleman that came here for a long time lent me a skateboard and I broke it and I thought I was going to get reamed. And I came back and he's like, don't even worry about it. I mean, the pastor, when I first met him, he was my friend before he was a leader or a figure of power. And the thing about this place is that it's an unconditional love that you don't see anywhere else.
Many of the kids are now college-bound, and the Oasis offers internship programs. Youth groups also come from all over the country to participate in the Urban School of Evangelism. It's a mission trip to Hollywood with hands-on training and tools for inner-city ministry.
And it's been so exciting to see teenagers own their faith and know what they believe and lead people to Christ and pray for people on the street. The most exciting thing to me is it gives them a heart for the lost. I've seen young people actually come to Hollywood, California and get a heart for the lost like they've never had it before, and go home to our hometown in Lubbock, Texas, or some college students that have come with me and go back to other parts of the United States and actually totally burn in their heart for the lost of this world.
The Oasis ministries are recognized and endorsed by nationally known Christian leaders.
You know, you really made a difference in the world. And that's the important thing when you come into this world, to make a difference. If anybody's ever blazed the trail and been pioneers in this great Los Angeles area, you have. Your integrity is just known worldwide. But most of all, you have been our friends, and we love and admire you. Matter of fact, Matthew, if I have any heroes in the world, it is these precious, wonderful people.
The ministry that's been carried on there in the Hollywood area has been a key to that part of our city having a constant, abiding radiance of the light of the gospel of Jesus Christ in the midst of oftentimes dismal and futile and hopeless circumstances. So many people come to your part of our world, your part of our city, and they have high dreams and end up with nightmares in their life. And the Oasis introduces heaven into what otherwise would be hell for a lot of people. I want to encourage anyone who's hearing my voice right now that you be supporters and partners with the ministry of Oasis. Anna and I are. We believe in what you're doing. For many, many times through the years, Church on the Way made contribution to this ministry too. It deserves mission status, for there's not a part of this world where there are missionaries that are more faithfully penetrating the darkness than the Radachys are, and as all of you at the Oasis are. God bless you.
Oasis of Hollywood, a refuge for children from the storms of life.
I just saw an illustration the other day that I think demonstrates what happens to someone when they give themselves and they're very promiscuous in their lives. And it was a rose, and how you start to make out with somebody, you start having a little bit of dabbling in the sexual area, you take a few petals off, and then pretty soon you go a little further and a little further, and pretty soon you take it in different people, and you end up leaving all these petals behind until eventually there's nothing left of the rose except just a stem. And I thought, that really is true. That's what is left behind when people are so promiscuous. A lot of brokenness, a lot of hurt. Young women that think, okay, I can just have abortions and, or take the pill and it'll just go away. But we have a young lady on our staff, and she's gone through this a lot, and she would be the first to tell you, it just leaves you so broken, so hurting inside, and thinking, I thought this was going to make me happy. I thought it was going to make me feel great. And there might be a temporary pleasure, because the Bible does say that there's pleasure in sin for a season, for a short period of time, but it will leave a broken, hurting person, and it's not satisfying because it's not the way God created it to fulfill your desires. God created sex. He wants us to have sex in the right place. It's like fire. Taking it out of the fireplace, it can burn the house down, but keeping it in the right place, it's perfect. It's what God intends.
If somebody came right now, if it was a young lady, let's say, who's been sexually abused, and here's the other interesting fact that we found even about runaway teens, which we used to deal a lot with, is that we found that something like 70%, I think it was 70% of all male runaway teens have been sexually abused as well. So it's not just the females, it's been the males as well. And if they're asking us, I want help, I'll guarantee you the first thing I'm going to do is talk to them about the Lord, not hammer them, ask them questions, find out, what's their understanding, what do they know about God, what's their impression of Him, and get the foundation laid, and then start bringing them up, because the key to the whole change of heart has to come with God. He's got to be the one they're going to have to commit to see things change. If they don't, we'll still try to help them. We used to have a referral book, I'm not kidding, was this thick. If you had a need, we had somebody who could meet that need.
And probably what I would do too is start with the relationship with God and pray with them and say, are you really ready for this change? And if they're really ready, then I would try to, find a place for them to move in. There's several good places here in LA. As a matter of fact, this happened to one of our staff. I'd got a call from Wisconsin from her stepmom, and her stepmom said, I know she's in an abusive relationship, she's doing drugs, and will you call and see if you can help her? So I called, and at first the guy answered. He didn't want me to talk to her, and so then I hung up, and I'm thinking, okay, Lord, how do I get through? I prayed. I said I need help in talking to this young lady. Called back and was able to talk to her, and I just got out real quickly this home that I knew about in Pasadena, and I said they take young women, and I talked real quick to try to give her an answer, and then hung up the phone because this guy came in.
She hung up.
Yeah, or she hung up. Anyway, a year later, I'm teaching at this home, and this girl writes me this note, and she says, I don't know if you would have remembered me or not, but you called me, and you recommend me. Well, she said, I've come to know the Lord this past year. My life is totally changed. I'm out of the abusive relationship. I'm off drugs. I'm set free. And she said, I really would be interested in doing an internship with you. And so she came, did an internship. Now she's on our staff, So that shows how God can totally change a situation. And it does, it's not an instantaneous. Some people think, it's instantaneous. Now, I know some people, I guess, do receive just deliverance instantaneous, but the majority of time there's a process of finding some support people, finding people to pray with you, encourage you, help you to change those mindsets, because we get these wrong mindsets to evil imaginations. The Bible talks about casting down evil imaginations. You've got to learn some of those things, getting the Word of God in your heart to learn how to have ammunition, because the devil will hate you even more and out to destroy you if you give your heart to God and you really try to change your life. And so
she actually will minister to our youth now in ways that she understands how she got to where she's at. And now she backs up, and she's very transparent, which a lot of people are embarrassed to talk about their mistakes, but she is open about her mistakes and the things that she's done and the abortion she had, and she tells the kids up front, and she says, these are the warning signs that you're going the wrong way, and when you get here you need to do this. And she's just so open, but she talks about how she felt in her heart and the mistakes that she made and how it hurt her and so on, and ministering to the kids in a preventive maintenance. When we used to deal with teenage runaways on the street, when it used to number 4,000 on any given day in the Hollywood area. And we did that for so many years until the neighborhood changed.
And now it's children. We try to do children and teenagers that are in the neighborhood. Yeah.
Now we've taken that pound of cure and cut it up into 16 different ways of preventive maintenance. Let's reach these kids before they end up on the street, before they destroy their lives, before they end up in jail or the grave. And that's the key. You got to get them before. I mean, you can work with them after the fact, but it's so much harder to reach them and get them off as it is the preventive maintenance. And as the demographics change, we change with it.
It really does take a miracle healing of God. I really believe that. You know, counseling is important, reassuring them of God's love for them, that this was not God's intention. He never, ever wants this kind of thing.
Nor is it their fault.
Yeah, it's not their fault. And so that can take some time, though, just getting that assurance. The young lady on our staff, it's taken some time for her to go and really feel the healing that she's needed after the abortion and after all the abuse that she went through. So
counseling is the key, because it's not going to happen overnight. You didn't get there overnight, you can't get cured overnight.
But also praying for deliverance, you know, that the enemy's his plan, his strategy, that he has this assignment against her life, you know, that's broken. Because, you know, and this might sound a little religious, but the blood of Jesus is powerful. You know, the Bible says that if we confess our sins, He's faithful and just to forgive us and cleanse us from all unrighteousness. That blood was shed on Calvary for a purpose. Not just so Jesus was this bloody mess hanging on a cross, but it was shed so that we could have freedom, we could have deliverance, we could have healing. Yes, sometimes it happens instantaneously, but most of the time it happens through talking and people praying with you, and you're continually finding out that you are a beautiful creation in God and that He did not intend these things. Unfortunately, we live in a cursed planet. We live in a planet that a lot of bad junk happens. You know, that's not God's plan. People say, oh, well, if He's a loving God, why does He let all this happen? Because He's given free will to people. And there's some bad people in the world, and their free will is perpetrated upon somebody else. And that's too bad. But God, in His mercy, can bring healing.